Hello and welcome to another What in the Lore video, and in today's video we are talking about the different guilds throughout all of Erosia. All these different guilds are the ones pertaining to the Disciple of Hand and Disciple of Land. I will be getting into more detail about the lore behind the Disciple of War and Disciple of Magic in later videos. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For crafters, the art of synthesis is at the very core of their way of life, driving their industry. They employ a veritable arsenal of tools in working everything from the most delicate cloth to the most resilient metal. Through their labors, the traditions of Erosia are kept alive and her culture preserved. Harvesters of nature's bounty utilize an array of tools in their work with all forms of plants and minerals. Their trade encompasses knowledge of all Hadelian's natural resources, be it in cultivated garden or the great outdoors. As a cornerstone of Erosia's economy, their impact on the inhabitants can hardly be overstated. Let's jump right in and take a look at the Alchemists Guild. The Alchemists are a studious lot, well versed in both the scientific and the arcane. Their diverse knowledge enables them to create a plethora of healing medicines and deadly poisons. It is also the alchemists who create the myriad dyes and paints, as well as other indispensable ingredients used by other crafting classes. The application of some alchemical concoctions has even been able to imbue items with potent enhancing effects. Masters of science and nature, the devilish and the divine, alchemists ensure their livelihood through the transmogrification of mundane materials into wondrous waters. From curative concoctions to potent potables, upon conducting their symphonies of co-mixing and combining, distilling and decoding, the impossible waxes possible and miracles are born. The Erosian school only recently came to be recognized in scientific circles as a valid branch of alchemical orthodoxy. It is based on fundamental principles originating in the Near East tradition, but draws heavily upon esoteric elements of both Lalafilian herbalism and Makote occultism as well. Up next we have the Armorers Guild. Transformation of mesh and ingot into chains and plate, gauntlet and greave, all the forms of armor relied upon by the Disciples of War. In addition to this, they also craft shields and various metallic implements used by other crafters and gatherers. Rather than working with raw ores and lumber obtained directly from the Disciples of Land, the Armorers more commonly work with the materials that have been modified from their natural state in some way. Armorers treat and work the malleable metals of Erosia into all forms of armor. By binding together sheet, stud, and link, they are able to produce garb of plate and chain that has saved the lives of countless adventurers. Though the armor trade once fell within the realm of blacksmithing, advancements in both metallurgical techniques and material refinement led to its necessary specialization and is now recognized as an official profession by all nations. The primary tool of the armor is the raising hammer. The Blacksmith Guild. The heat of the forge, the din of hammer on anvil, the breath of the bellows, all know of the smiths and their deeds, most notable the masterful creation of elaborate blades and axes from the lifeless lumps of metal and ore. Yet they are equally skilled at the fashioning of tools used by other disciples of the hand, such as the hammer and saw. Other crafters also turn to the smiths for nails, grips, and other various consummate parts that are essential to their own synthesis endeavors. It is in the fires and on the anvils of Erosia's blacksmiths that the weapons and tools of metal are crafted. Their work is demanded at all times in nearly every location, whether it be the hammering of blades of a sword at the forge or whetting the edge of an axe at a camp. The tradition itself stretches back to the realm's Age of Bronze, though the advanced metallurgical techniques passed on from master to apprentice today bear little resemblance to the simple practices of ancient times. The relatively recent birth of firearms has created an entirely new era of expertise which is being adopted with the fervor of many ambitious members of the guild. The primary tool of the blacksmith is the cross-peen hammer. Blacksmithing techniques are capable of weakening enemies constructed of metal, as well as discovering loot that would otherwise be overlooked by the untrained eye. Blacksmiths provide an edge to themselves and others by ensuring the weapons are always kept in optimal condition. The Carpenter's Guild. Wood is a primary ingredient in many of the realm's weapons, tools, and armor. As such, it is the carpenter, with his trusty saw in hand, who fashions the arrows for archers, the spears of lancers, and the wands of conjurers. Various lumber is also rendered into defensive wear, including masks, footwear, and shields. Beyond the implementations of war, woodworking also creates a number of tools used by Disciple of Land, such as hatchets and lures. The expertise of the Carpenter's Guild renders raw wood material into true cornucopia of useful items. The foremost workers of wood, carpenters possess expert knowledge of the hardness, pliability, weight, and value of all types of timber. Their creed is to bring these natural traits to bear in the form of various wares, including utensils and furniture. Woodworking techniques were and continue to be developed and redefined by the shipbuilding endeavors of Limsa Lominsa, as well as the towering architectural pursuits of Ishgard. However, it is in and around Gridania, home to the highest quality timber, that the craft's greatest strides have been made. Gridanian carpentry produces everything from masks used in their religious ceremonies to the enormous structures that make up their city. The primary tool of the carpenter is the handsaw. Culinarian's Guild. Culinarians preside over the world of cuisine, preparing every known consumable in Erosia. Though they lack the ability to prepare items like other crafting classes, their food and their drink are highly sought after by the adventurers for the realm over for the highly advantageous effects they provide when eaten and embedded. Whetting appetites from dawn until dusk with prowess of pot and pan, Culinarians provide more than simple sustenance. Armed with a cornucopia of ingredients from across the realm and versed in methods from the far corners of Pedalium, these master chefs help adventurers maintain their strength on the battlefield, bringing true to the age-old adage that the road to victory truly does run through one's stomach. Although an established trade far before recorded history, it wasn't until half a century ago when Limsa Lominsian admiral and self-proclaimed gourmand Goldsmith, known by the masses as Mass Cleaver, put forth a Thalassocratic decree proclaiming the culinary arts as guild-worthy craft. Henceforth, it has been recognized across Erosia as a legitimate member of the Tradescraft Society. Its recipe compendiums now grace the shelves of every librarium in the realm. The Goldsmiths Guild. The Goldsmiths Guild concerned itself with all things fanciful and ornate, the fullest expression of which is realized in the resplendent jewelry crafted by its members. Their wide-ranging finery, painstakingly fashioned from delicate metals and precious stones, can be seen adorning the ears, fingers, and necks of distinguishing Erosians everywhere. In addition, goldsmiths are also capable of creating a number of weapons and pieces of armor, instruments of war, as effective as they are elaborate. Goldsmithing is the practice of working precious metals and stones into a multitude of accessories that appeal to the Erosian aesthetic. It also makes use of golds and silvers, rubies and sapphires, and a myriad of other materials to decorate weapons, armor, and tools. Due to the extreme value of the source materials being worked with, the guild has adopted a philosophy of high risk and high return. This has given them a reputation for being laborious scrutinizers of the market trends, always paying heed to the fluctuating economy. The primary tool of the goldsmith is the chaser hammer. On to the Leatherworkers Guild.
An empty hand is akin to an empty heart. Ever does it long for a companion.
And the quote that you just heard is from a former Tanner's Guild guildmaster, Severian Baluk. But let's go ahead and talk about them. The Leatherworkers are a dedicated collection of crafters who refine the hides, pelts, and furs of Erosia's wildlife into all forms of versatile goods from head to toe. Foremost among their creations are various pieces of leather armor more substantial than cloth, but lighter and more pliable than chain or plate. By using materials treated with dyes, the leatherworkers are able to render their creations in nearly any color of the spectrum. Contrary to popular belief, a leatherworker's skills are not limited to the mere boiling and dyeing of pelts and skins, but also encompasses those of an armor and clothier, for a true leatherworker would never entrust his hides to the hands of another. Perhaps a leatherworker's most arduous and time-consuming task is procuring the various coats and furs necessary for his trade, which is the reason why many who choose this profession tend to dabble in hunting and trapping as well. The Elezen have long been known for their skills in leathercrafting, yet for centuries their techniques were heavily guarded. However, when dwindling numbers of guild masters were threatened with the disappearance of their immense wealth of compiled knowledge, Elezen leatherworkers set aside pride and reluctantly began revealing those techniques to a select few. As a result, the quality of Erosian-made leather improved significantly, creating an increased demand for products using superior quality material. The Weavers Guild. The spinning of thread and the weaving of cloth are acts of creation stretching back countless generations. The Weavers Guild carries on these time-honored traditions to this day, creating fiber and fabric from base materials before using them to sew and stitch the vast array of garments worn by all. Much like their colleagues at the Leatherworkers Guild, the weavers are also able to work with dyed textiles to create items of exquisite color and splendor. From fiber to thread, thread to cloth, cloth to dress, the path of a tailor literally weaves its way from basic beginnings to extravagant ends, And while this alone can prove a long and arduous journey, a weaver's work spans more than just the spinning of strings and the sewing of seams. Those who wish to excel at the cloth crafters must also stay attuned to the latest fashion trends, ensuring their customs are never scoffed by their peers for looking anything less than posh. Just as the spinner Nemeo spins the fates of all Erosians, the warp and weft of a weaver's work, too, have been known to alter the course of destinies both large and small. Perhaps this is why so many of the realm's sailors pay homage to the fickle goddess. The Botanist Guild. The botanist profession encompasses the procurement of resources from all forms of plant life. This includes harvesting various vegetables and grains, tending to fruit-bearing trees, gathering wild grasses, cultivating fibrous plants for the use of textiles, logging timber to supply the carpentry trade, and much more. This wide range of raw materials draws the custom of various other guilds, notably the carpenters, weavers, alchemists, and culinarians. Botanists also attempt to educate others about the importance of achieving a symbolic relationship with the Erosia's plants, rather than carelessly stripping away from their useful parts. This is perhaps the most exemplified by the revolutionary irrigation methods devised by Gridania, which first made low-impact, high-yield crop propagation possible. The primary tool of the botanist is the hatchet, and the secondary tool is the scythe. The Fisherman's Guild. Fishers are the harvesters of the realm's marine and freshwater animal resources. The goods they obtain from the catch place them in direct dealings with both culinarians and goldsmiths. Be it from the shore of a sea, the bank of a river, the deck of a boat, Erosia's anglers must constantly account for a wide range of factors to optimize their success, including season, time, place, tools, and bait. In addition, the sometimes perilous nature of desirable fishing holes, be in the offshore, above, or below ground, prompts many fishers to employ the protection of more combat-oriented professions. The primary tool of the fisher is, of course, the fishing rod. And last but not least, the Miners' Guild. The Miners' Guild is responsible for the excavation and handling of Erosia's mineral wealth, be it ores, fossils, precious stones, or otherwise. It should come as no surprise, then, that their most eager customers are the realm's blacksmiths and goldsmiths. To fully master the advanced techniques developed by the great mining nation of Ul'dah, miners must undertake a wide range of tasks, from the meticulous prospecting of the most minute deposits of large-scale civil engineering. The guild staunchly subscribes to the theory of continental drift, and as such, many among its ranks for their patron deity Ashkan, the Wanderer. The primary tool of the miner is the pickaxe. Thank you guys for watching another episode of What in the Lore. Again, this episode based it all around the Disciples of Hand and Disciples of Land guilds throughout all of Erosia. I would like to take a second to thank a couple guild members for getting the little quote that you heard there from the Tanners Guild. A lot of these pictures came straight from them. Very helpful, so I don't have to dig around all over the internet to get those, so thank you guys for that. Moving forward, if there's any feedback or anything that you guys would like to leave, please leave it in a comment down below. I do read it all, and I try to incorporate all that feedback that you guys give me, whether it be good or bad, into future videos. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if there's something you would like to see for future videos, be it, the Ishgard or Gridania or the Grand Companies and stuff like that, I do have a list of things that I am going through, but if there's something you would like to see much more sooner, by all means, post it down below, and I will definitely put that up higher on my list of things to do. But until next time, guys, may the blessing of the 12 be with you.